Leadership in 30 minutes. I woke up this morning actually, not knowing exactly what I was going to talk about on leadership in 30 minutes today. For the most part, I've been trying to come to something of significance that I could share with you. But interestingly, I woke up and I had this thought dropped into my spirit. And so I believe this is what I'm supposed to be speaking to you about. And it's an interesting piece. You would hear it, uh, shortly. It's not the kind of thing that you probably expect one to speak about on the subject of leadership, but apparently it's a very, very important subject. So are you one to say sorry? Are you one who is quick to say sorry? When you reflect on your conduct and how you interact with your people, do you find yourself often having to say sorry? Or have there been occasions where you have so goofed that you knew you had to say sorry and you did say sorry? Well, there is nothing bad in saying sorry, especially if you acknowledge that you have goofed. All right. Courtesy demands, civility demands that you apologize, all right, to whoever is concerned. However, the point is this: if you find yourself saying sorry, then there's something wrong with your leadership. Your leadership, all right, is ineffective. Most likely, you are contending with leadership weakness in some regard or another. And that is what I want to speak to you about on Leadership in 30 Minutes, all right now. Great leaders don't say sorry. Great leaders don't say sorry. You would, think, okay, so this is leadership without saying sorry. Another way to caption what I want to talk about is leadership or leading without saying sorry. Leading without saying sorry. Now, let's be clear. And I think this was why I was prompted or nudged to speak on this subject this morning. You are not obliged to say sorry, all right, to be effective as a leader. That's not necessarily part of the vocabulary that is essential for effectiveness in leadership. I have a role model leader, and his name is Jesus. And I searched actually, especially, when I had the prompting this morning, and I asked, when did he ever say sorry? Did he actually ever say sorry to anyone, particularly to any of those he was leading? I couldn't find any situation where he said sorry. And that said something to me. How come he never was in a situation to say sorry to any of his followers, and indeed to anybody for that matter? He never said sorry. And that's not because he didn't want to say sorry. That's not because he felt too big to apologize to anyone. It wasn't out of pride. It was because he never put himself in the situation to say sorry. So when you have cause to say sorry, in those instances where you have had to say sorry, only God knows how many times you've been saying that. Well, you put yourself in that situation, and it was needless putting yourself in that situation. I mean, clearly, if you don't put yourself in the situation where you have to apologize, then there is no need for it. So the issue is this: can we put ourselves in a situation where we don't have to apologize? Well, the answer is, of course, yes. At least if we're learning from this role model leader, the answer has to be yes. It is possible to lead and be effective at leading without saying sorry. In fact, let me further emphasize that. It is possible to lead effectively, all right, or be effective as a leader without, all right, saying sorry, without putting yourself in the position where you have to apologize to any of the people following you, all right, and maybe indeed anybody for that matter. That's because you can develop yourself, and you should develop yourself to the point where you never have reason to apologize to anyone. You never have reason to say sorry. And when you are operating at that frequency, oh yes, it's a high frequency, all right, you are very likely to be effective. I mean, Jesus was effective, very effective. You couldn't be more effective. All right. It was so effective that he beat his chest and said, I have completed the assignment that you gave me. All right. And so, I mean, this is possible. When you find yourself particularly apologizing, quite frequently, if it's part of, an active part of the vocabulary to say sorry, your leadership is ineffective relative to what it can be. You can do without it. And I'm not advocating pride, all right? I'm advocating leadership with character. And part of the character attributes of a leader is humility. So the fact that you don't say sorry does not mean that you are proud. The point is that you never put yourself in a situation where you have to say sorry. The other point is that you don't say sorry for the fun of it. All right? Because that also, has an adverse consequence. As a leader, you are to be careful about your words. Don't say things that you don't mean. All right? So if you are saying sorry, you better say it because you know that you have to say it, having done something to some other person that merits or warrants it. But if it does not, if no situation warrants it, then there is no need for you to say sorry. There's absolutely no need for you to say sorry. Great leaders don't say sorry, because great leaders don't put themselves in a position where they have to apologize, not to their followers, not to anybody else. And I'll give you an example of a situation that arose where Jesus looked at some of his people, in the eyes. They probably were expecting him to apologize because he told them certain things about himself and wanted them to take note of that. He said, I am the bread of life. He said, if you don't eat my flesh and if you don't drink my blood, then you have no part with me. And they began to wonder, what's this man talking about? We have respect for you. We've been following you, but this is the height of it. And he knew that the people were uncomfortable, probably angered by what he said. And so he looked at the fellows and asked them, does this offend you? By the way, that's the title of one of my books. He said, does this offend you? What I have said, have you taken offense? All right. And maybe they thought, oh, now he realized that what he said, was inappropriate, and thought he was going to apologize, but he didn't apologize. All right. They reacted by leaving him. They left him. They went away. Big deal. He did not apologize. You will think that somebody losing so many people at the same time, people walking out on you as a leader, that, hey, gentlemen, I mean, this thing is not so, difficult, and he would apologize. Okay, I'm sorry if you took offense and all of that. He did not do that. He had no reason to do that. In fact, he did something that could further provoke anyone. He turned to the guys who had not left, the original 12 people that he called, and he asked them, do you guys want to follow them? That's interesting. I love that. He said, do you want to follow them? Because you can. If you're expecting me to apologize, I'm not going to do that. I have no intention of doing that, because I haven't done anything to warrant apology. I haven't done anything to warrant any apology. And I'm not going to do that. And they quickly understood, his disposition. And they told him, sir, we're going nowhere. Who will we go to? All right. You are the ones. You have the words of eternal life. You have what we need. You have what is going to transform us. It may be tough on us, but you haven't said anything, that offends us. And so we're not expecting an apology. So I say to you, for example, when a leader is committed to speaking the truth, whether the people like it or not, however offended they may feel, he is not obliged to say sorry. You don't say sorry for speaking the truth. No, sir, you don't. You don't say sorry as a leader for standing on and speaking truth. It is expected of a leader to speak the truth. And the people don't have to like it. And the fact that somebody doesn't like what you have said, which is true, doesn't mean you have to apologize. There is absolutely no need for it. If you apologize because the person is upset and you're trying to just, manage and all of that, you are weak. Your leadership is weak. And the chances are that you don't mean it. Now, it's one of two things that you don't mean. You either didn't mean the truth, in which case you never were really speaking out of conviction, or you didn't mean the apology. And that's worse. That's hypocrisy. Why are you speaking truth that you don't mean? Why are you apologizing when you know that, you are not supposed to, and you don't mean it? You're just saying it so that the person can feel good. No, leadership is not about making people feel good. A leader is not concerned about making people feel good. He's concerned about adding lasting legacy value to people. They may not appreciate it at that moment, but later they would know that whatever was done was for their own benefit. So we can learn from that. We can learn from that. Great leaders, and that's what we're talking about today, great leaders do not say sorry. You can lead effectively without saying sorry. This may appear controversial, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. And I have no intention of apologizing for speaking the truth. At Emmett Leadership Academy, our commitment is to speak the truth. But we speak the truth in love, all right, out of love, okay, because of what benefit the truth has to offer. If you are always saying sorry to your people, to others, it's a sign of weakness. You have work to do on yourself. You have work to do on yourself. And the likelihood is that you are not effective in your relationship with others. You're not effective in your leadership of others. All right. So quit putting yourself in a situation where you have to apologize. So I hope you have gotten some of the key points, that we're not saying that you shouldn't apologize if you goof and you know that what you did was wrong. By all means, please apologize. That is being civil. That is being humble. All right. But we're also saying you only apologize when you have put yourself in that position. All right. And so you can avoid putting yourself in that position. Okay. You can avoid putting yourself in that position. So let me speak to how do you do that? How do you do that? Now, the first thing is always know what to do in any situation. Always know what to do in any situations. These are the things that convey, all right, how difficult leadership can be. How difficult leadership can be. A leader, all right, is under obligation to know what to do in any situation. You are the leader. You are not following anybody. Everybody else is depending on you. How you figure that out is your business, but it's your responsibility. But doesn't it make sense? All right. That if you know what to do, if you do the right thing in every situation, you would never have reason to say sorry. If you do right in every situation, why would you say sorry? You never have reason to say sorry. You never have reason to say sorry. It was one of the characteristics of Jesus. He always knew what to do. That's one of the reasons he had no reason to say sorry. All right. So you see the responsibility of leadership. It's not a walk in the park. That means you must always continue to improve yourself so that you can be in a situation like this. And you must have access to sources of counsel. All right. In the midst of many counselors, there is safety. So you won't goof. All right. You must always know what to do. I'm going to share with you 8 things that I believe that you need to do in order to prevent a sorry situation of you having to say sorry as a leader, every now and then to your people. Then the second thing, always think before you talk. Think before you talk, so you don't have to regret what you said. Think before you talk, so that you can be intentional when you speak. Think before you talk, so that you avoid speaking what is called idle words that serve no useful purpose, that adds no value. Always, as a leader, think before you talk. As much as communicating, talking, speaking is important for a leader, you don't talk for the sake of talking. What you say has to be purposeful. What you say has to be intentional. And if that is the case, clearly you would not speak in order, all right, to offend anyone. Though they may get offended, which is not your intention, all right? And if they get you offended against your intention, which is not your intention, you are not necessarily you are not obliged to say sorry. When you mean what you say, you stand by it. All right? Now, always think before you speak. That's the second thing. Now, the third, this is very important. You should walk in love. Walking in love means that you give consideration to all stakeholders or other stakeholders that are involved. In this case, specifically the people who are following you. In your interactions with them, in the things that you do, in the things that you say, give consideration to them. Let it always be that you are doing it in their best interest. In their best interest. And do it in a way that is dignifying, in a way that does not rubbish their self-esteem. Don't relate with your people in a way that makes them feel any less human. Please don't. Walk in love. It's important. If you are walking in love, you won't have occasion to say sorry, because you won't do the things in the first instance that puts you in a position that people are wondering, what's wrong with this guy? I mean, why would this do that to me? Why would he say that to me? Why would he think that about me? If you are walking in love, and Jesus walked in love, that's why it's one of the reasons he didn't have reason to say sorry. He never had reason to say sorry. Walk in love. Number 3, of course, an extension of walking in love, mind your character and work at building, at strengthening your character. Because your character is discipline. Your character is humility. A part of your character is moral excellence. Part of your character is diligence, is faithfulness. Part of your character is being kind. Now, all of those things, if they are actually a part of how you conduct yourself, how you behave, it's very unlikely that you will do something or you will say something to anyone that you would need to apologize for. All right. So in order not to get not to get yourself in a position where you don't have to say sorry, it requires a high level of discipline. A high level of discipline is required. A high level of discipline. That's a character issue. Jesus was very disciplined. Very, very disciplined. And so you couldn't fault him because he was not going to do something that will make somebody feel he needs to apologize to me. All right. He didn't even apologize when he took a whip and chased out some people from the synagogue. And they didn't expect apologies from him, I'm sure, because they knew what they were doing was wrong. Those are character issues, integrity. When you act on the basis of that, you will discover you really would never need to apologize to anyone. You really would never need to apologize to anyone. Now, this is also important. Number 5, be emotionally intelligent. Develop your emotional intelligence skill. What it entails is being able to keep track of the emotions, the feelings of the people that you are interacting with in the course of your interaction. And you use that information to manage your interaction effectively. If you are emotionally intelligent, you'll be sensitive to others and you will conduct, all right, your relationship with them accordingly. If you do that, you are not likely, all right, to get yourself in the position where they're expecting an apology from you on anything. Not likely. Not likely. You need to be emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence helps you to give proper consideration to how others feel, to how others react, okay, to the things that you are saying, to the things that you are doing in the course of interacting with them. That's important. Okay. Another one is this, is exercise yourself unto godliness. Exercise yourself unto godliness. Exercise yourself unto godliness. All right. The more godly your lifestyle, all right, the more there will be no need to apologize. All right. Because you won't even get on the wrong side of people. And if anyone feels that you are getting on their wrong side, then it's because that's how they feel. You are not obliged to say sorry. All right. Jesus called out hypocrites, the Pharisees, for the leaders publicly for their misbehavior. They were upset. They didn't like it. They felt insulted. He never said said sorry. Why? Because it was the truth. Because he had justification, he could prove what he was saying. And he wasn't unduly insulting them. They only felt insulted. He didn't insult them. Because by calling out somebody as a hypocrite, all right, doesn't mean that is an insult. It's a description, of your understanding of the character of the person. So people can react to you in certain ways. It does not mean that you have done them wrong. People can feel, wronged, but it doesn't mean that you have done them any wrong. And like I said, you don't apologize for the sake of apologizing, because then you become a hypocrite because you don't believe in it. All right, you apologize and mean it. That is what it is with true leaders. You're a true leader. You want to be a great leader when you are intentional. When you apologize, you mean it. When you apologize, you mean it. All right. Number 7, this will help as well. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, so that you won't get angry quickly. Because one of the things that leads to us putting ourselves where we do something or say something that we now regret and have to apologize for is anger. And one of the ways to manage that, be slow to speak. Earlier on I said think before talking. I'm saying now, be slow to speak. Hesitate at times. Let others talk. Don't be the first to react. All right. Spend more time listening, so you have a better understanding, so you know exactly where people are coming from. Okay. So you know the purpose for a particular comment or a particular remark or a particular behavior. And that will help you to more appropriately respond or react. And it will help a great deal, so you don't get yourself into a situation where you are saying sorry all over the place, as a weak leader. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, all right, so that you are not quick, to get into anger and therefore, to misbehave. And this is also important. Don't hamstring yourself. What do I mean by that? I want to use the example of, that king, Herod, who was so quick, because somebody impressed him, the daughter impressed him, and he was so quick and said to the daughter, okay, whatever it is you want, up to half of my kingdom, I will give it to you. I mean, what a statement, what a vow. He put himself in a situation that was absolutely needless. Absolutely needless. I mean, what do you want to give your daughter, who was not even independent, who had to go and ask the mother, what should I ask for? Why do you want to give that kind of daughter half of your kingdom? It's recklessness. He hamstrung himself. And because he was a king and he had made, a pronouncement, when the daughter came back and asked for something that was just impossible, he couldn't say no. He couldn't say no. And so he came and said, okay, well, I need the head of John the Baptist. I mean, and this was somebody who was highly respected. How could you? How could you? And this is how leaders put themselves in situations that are needless. And therefore, you have to be saying sorry and all of that. Now, pride in that case could not allow him, all right, to back down on his commitment. Pride. It wasn't even a law like that, of the kings in the Medes and Persia, where once you make a pronouncement or once you make a decree, you cannot change it. You have to abide by it. It was not. This was just an ordinary vow, which he could have changed. All right. But why did he have to put himself in that situation? It was needless. And that's how some leaders put themselves in situations where they are now having to say sorry. Ineffective leadership, weakness. All right. So that's what I want to share with you today. You can lead effectively without saying sorry. It's not fashionable to say sorry as a leader. And stop using it as, an example of the fact that you respect people, you are humble and all of that. If you do, you would not, have to apologize to them in the first instance, because that you are apologizing to them mean you did something wrong to them. And that you ought to prevent in the first instance. That you have to work more on in the first instance. And we have the model of Jesus who has done it. And you and I need to walk to that level of discipline where we are able to lead also without having to say sorry. And our people will respect us for that. We will produce very effective leaders as well, fulfilling our mandate. We'll be able to say, like Jesus said, I have completed the assignment that you gave me. So you can be a great leader without saying sorry. Great leaders don't say sorry. This is not the kind of thing you may have had elsewhere, but think about it. Like Paul said, God will help you to understand it. It's a high frequency of leadership where a discipline, high level discipline is required. And if you do those 8 things that I listed, you will discover that it's not far-fetched leading at that frontier, of leadership. And I want to encourage you to do it. I want to encourage you to do it. When you are not saying sorry, all right, it means that you are doing something well. I'm not saying that you are refusing to say sorry out of pride, but you find there is no need to say sorry because you have not wronged anyone by saying sorry. And certainly if you are leading by truth, you won't have reason to say sorry. Okay? I challenge you to do that. Okay? I challenge you to rise to that level of leadership. And you can share your experiences, later. I hope it's been fun, you joining me this morning. It's been Leadership in 30 Minutes, and we have been speaking on the subject, great leaders don't say sorry. And I'm glad that I have spoken on this because that's what I received this morning, and I guess I've just fulfilled my mandate. Great leaders don't say sorry. You can lead effectively without saying sorry. You can lead effectively without saying sorry. And your people will praise you for it. They would appreciate you for it. Imagine having a relationship with people where you never have to say sorry. That means you are doing something that is great. All right. So much so they don't find any shortcoming with you in the way that you interact with them. I'd like to operate at that level. You should aspire to operate at that level. If only our leaders will operate at that level of discipline. All right. Wouldn't things be the better for them, for us, and for the society? Enjoy, what remains of your week. And please comment. Let's have feedback from you. Share the link. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'll be back with you on Leadership Monday, sharing some other nugget on leadership when we meet again. For now, thank you for joining. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day and week. Bye-bye. I remain Olatunji Shubodu. Bye-bye.